Hi again, congregation. So great to have you stay with us after worship today. We have just a few announcements we really need to hit on with you and give you a bit of information and updates about that. Of course, all of this information is in the email that was just sent out on Friday. So you can always go back and read things in greater detail. I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and he's going to walk us through a couple things to start off with.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to mention was that we are having a couple of town hall meetings that we're holding on Zoom. And this is on September 10th, so this is coming up this week. And one is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and one is at 7 o'clock. They're basically the same content, so just come to which one you are able to come to if you want to be part of these. The purpose of these meetings is actually to do some exploration and conversation and some listening around a conversation that we were supposed to have back in March at our annual general meeting. So we had planned to discuss the stewardship of the McGilvery property. So this is a piece of property that was set aside a long time ago for a new church to be developed, a new church building to be developed on that space. And so we're the inheritors of that. So lots of you are watching this kind of understand that history and know about that. But we had put out a document last year as the session, a discussion document as a way forward on how we might want to look at the stewardship of that property, and it's maybe taking us in a slightly different direction. So we felt that rather than doing that all in the AGM, that we would just move those onto Zoom in sort of a town hall kind of meeting setting. So it gives us an opportunity to reflect on that document. So you can find that document in the weekly email, like Jen said, so go back from what we sent out. The last couple of weeks it's been in there, so you can just click on the link, download the document so you kind of know what we're talking about. The other thing is that we are also holding our annual general meeting. That'll come a little bit later. So that's going to happen September 28th. That's a Monday at 7 o'clock at night, and that will be on Zoom as well. So we are not having an in-person component for the AGM. And what we're going to do in the next week or so, maybe a little longer than that, we will be sending out all of the annual reports that we previously had available. So they'd already been sent out back in February, but we're going to send them out again, and you'll have the financial information. And what we're going to ask you to do is, if you've got specific questions or something that you have a concern about or anything like that, please try to send those questions in advance, because that will really help us out in trying to figure out how to answer those questions. So we're going to supply you with Terry Bruno's email address as well, who's our church treasurer, and that way, if you've got a financial question, you can go directly to Terry, and Terry and I will work through that meeting, especially around the financials of the church and where things stand. So that's pretty important stuff for us. But yeah, if you can get things in advance, then that helps us, because it's pretty hard to have a meeting on Zoom for an AGM. And so we want to try to do a pared down, simplified agenda and to try to expedite that meeting as much as we can. But without glossing over details. So again, get those questions in, and we can try to answer those as quickly as possible. A big thing we want to talk to you about today, though, is about small groups and small gatherings. And we've just put something out about that. But Jen's going to kind of talk to us a little bit about that, and I'll jump back in after.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that, Matt. So we've been missing you, and I'm sure you've been missing each other, and we want to provide space, and whether that's in person or online through Zoom, or potentially through another platform that makes sense for a small group, for people to get together. As Jesus says, where 2 or 3 are gathered, I am there with you. And we think it's really important that as we continue to identify ourselves as the sent people of God, we need support in walking through that together. And so we want to facilitate this opportunity for you to get involved and connect. Now, the great thing is that might feel, I'd love to do that, but I only have a little bit of time. Awesome. There might be some of these gatherings are a one-off event, or they might be a small series of 4 Mondays in a row. Some others might really want to move through a longer book study or a life group where they want to gather in person, meal share, and actually learn about what does it mean to do life together as followers of Jesus and have that really shape their lives. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and I'm really excited to see what comes out of that. And I think that's a perfect segue for Matt to share a little bit about the importance of context and leadership.
Yeah, so one of the things that we decided to do when we started looking at how do we want to respond to this time as well, and Jen's kind of talked about we might have different kinds of groups, and a lot of the times that happens in a pretty ad hoc manner where we kind of hear, oh, a few people are wanting to have a Bible study, and then the session just decides, okay, let's figure that out, let's have one, or one of the leaders puts that on. But what we want to try to do is actually figure out if we can have multiple things going at the same time. So we actually need more leaders in order to do that. And as we got talking about that, Jen and I were thinking we have an opportunity here actually to try to equip leaders to be able to step into a role of leading in a small group setting. And so my role really is to be involved in teaching and leadership. That's kind of my area, and Jen is in terms of the worship life and the community life of the congregation. And so we've been working together on this to try to think through how do we do this in a way that's going to be helpful. So rather than start with, oh, here are our small groups and everybody should get in one, what we decided to do instead was say, let's try to find some great leaders within our community. We have some amazing people that we think would be great potential leaders. And then help them find out what they're passionate about or what you're passionate about if you're someone who might be one of those leaders. Work with them to figure out how do they start up a group, and then we'll help equip that and then provide that as an opportunity for congregation members or really anyone to be able to kind of jump into those groups. So instead of launching groups, we're actually launching a leadership meeting. But we're going to move really swiftly. We're going to move very quickly from equipping some of those leaders on an ongoing basis towards launching the first couple of groups. The other thing that's kind of neat about this approach as well is it actually doesn't matter when a group starts. So we might start 2 or 3 in October or more, who knows, we don't know yet. And then there might be another one in November, or there might be these one-time event or 2 sessions of something in December. So we don't know quite what that's going to look like yet. So the first step that we're going to ask you to do is actually just go to the website and read through what we've posted there. So if you go to prairiechurch.ca/groups, you can sort of see our philosophy and our approach to what I've been talking about in a more nebulous way. And then if you are sparked by what you read there and you think, yeah, maybe I could be a leader, or I don't know if leadership is really for me, but maybe even something is just stirring there for you and you think, oh, but maybe, or maybe they really need help and maybe I should jump in. We've got a form on that webpage that you can then fill out. And that just lets us know that you would be interested in coming out to one of our leadership nights. So we're actually going to have these leadership times on the 3rd Monday of the month for September, October, and November. So the 3rd Monday of the month, it'll be in the evening at, I think, 7 o'clock is what we said. That will be a combination of in-person and Zoom. So you can choose, and on that form you can say how you would rather attend. If you would rather attend on Zoom or in person. We don't know for sure the venue. It may not actually be at our church building, but we'll be figuring that out and letting you know. But yeah, go and check out that webpage. The link was provided in the email as well. So, but you can just go to prairiechurch.ca/groups to get all of the information about that. And we actually have 2 other leadership opportunities that we think are really great opportunities that we want to send people to. And so it's kind of connected to this as well. So you don't have to be one of these people who might be a small group leader of some kind to do these. But if you're interested in these other opportunities in terms of looking at the future of the church as well. Like these two opportunities we're going to tell you about are kind of around that. So Jen, you can sort of tell us about the first one.
Mm-hmm. So before I share with you about, I'm going to be talking about the certificate for missional leadership. I do want to mention that if something sparks in you, and Matt has just shared like the third Monday at 7, and you're like, that time doesn't work, that's okay. On that form, there is a spot that says that time doesn't work for me, something like that. And we will be in touch with you and we will figure things out. We don't want to slip. We don't want any opportunities to slip by. We really want to tend to what the Spirit is doing and pay attention and recognize that, yeah, sure, the Spirit speaks with us, but the Spirit is speaking with you as well. So we want to encourage you to listen. So the certificate for missional leadership, this is through St. Andrew's Hall, which is part of Vancouver School of Theology. It is the Presbyterian College on campus there at UBC. The great thing is all of their classes, predominantly all of their classes have been always offered via Zoom, like satellite. And this one is no exception. They're offering in person as well as on Zoom. This is the last Saturday of the month for an extended period of time because it is a certificate program. And it is for people who are wanting to engage with missional theology, which essentially is kind of, to really break it down to the basics, is to look at the church in Acts, how things started to form when Jesus says where 2 or 3 are gathered and they're showing mutual care for one another, that's the church. So it's really kind of looking at that sort of thing. And so in the weekly email, there is their website that you will have the link directly to the certificate program. There is cost attached to that, but there would be no cost to you. We have figured out how to cover that. So we are looking for a small group of 3 more people to participate in, 2 to 3 more people to participate in that. There's a couple of us that are already registered for it. So if that is something you're interested in, go and take a look at the website, and that will be a really fun thing to have you on board. So I'll be attending that, and Matt is going to be attending a different conference, so he'll tell you about that one.
Yeah, so Canadian Ministries, who I actually work for in the other half of my job with Cyclical PCC is part of Canadian Ministries, but so it's the national church. So they put on a conference called the Transform Conference. I believe Terry actually went to it last time, and so we heard good reports from that. And it's really about like it's like somewhat about congregational transformation. Like, what does it mean for change to happen in the life of a congregation and the life of the church? It's a little bit about that, I think, but it's also kind of looking at the culture that we're in and realizing, like, what does it mean to really be the church in the midst of this time and space that we're in? And the change is almost kind of thrust upon us now in a big way, right? So this conference was an in-person conference originally, and they've redesigned it to be a series, a conference that's basically a series of Zoom meetings, but you also get a mentor for your group. So Jen, you were way better at describing the missional leadership certificate, because I know you've gone and researched that. And so I know that this one starts, we're going to send you all the information, but this one starts at the end of October, and it goes for 4 consecutive weeks. And I think it's a daytime in the middle of the week.
Yes,
this
I believe
is the best
so as
announcement
well. I want to say
best announcement ever.
I want to say it's a Wednesday, but it might not be.
We're going to send you the information, and if you're interested,
you will have been sent the information.
Yeah, that's right.
On Friday. So go and open that email.
We're pre-recording this before we send you the information. We've reached the best part of this video. Okay. Yeah. So that's called the Transform Conference, and it's somewhat similar to what Jen was talking about with the Center for Missional Leadership. They have a slightly different focus, and the certificate for missional leadership, it goes over a number of months. So it's like once a month for a number of months. Transform is kind of this short spurt. So you different people might want different things as well. And I'll be going to the Transform events. So we would love to have a team to do that. I think we're supposed to have a team of 4 or 5 for Transform. So we're looking for a few people to come and join me on that. Right.
Absolutely. So speaking of
So good.
conferences, you might recall
Yeah.
if you were with us before, about a year ago, Evangeline and Janet, Evangeline, our former music director, and Janet, who is one of our elders, attended the Sing conference that is put on by the Gettys, and you will definitely know some of their songs. I don't know if we did one today. Marvelous Matchless Love is one that we've done recently, as well as a lot of them. Anyhow, they are attending this conference again, and it is happening this week, and it is been also on Zoom. So we're looking forward to a report from that again, and we get some insight to some really cool new stuff that the Gettys have been doing that helps shape our worship as well, because we love their music.
Yeah.
So lots of fun conference things happening.
Couple more things. There's so much, right? Like this, isn't this great?
Yes.
I'm glad we didn't do this in our normal announcement slot. This is good. If anybody's still watching this, I love you. It's so wonderful. We've actually received. I wanted to let people know about this because I don't know if we've been totally clear about this. But we've actually received some grants recently for some particular work that we're doing at Prairie. Lots of you will know that Jen, who's here with me, that she has been doing a bunch of work over the last, well, just over a year. And she also had a big span of maternity leave in the middle of that. She's been doing some work on discerning the possibility of new worshiping communities or new communities. And it started off particularly focused in a particular neighborhood in Winnipeg. There's been some shifts in that they've been kind of working through, and Jen's been working through. And she's going to be giving us an update. The reason I'm talking is because she's going to give us an update later. We're not getting into that now. We're already been talking for a long time. She's going to give us an update about that ministry. But something I wanted to let people know about was we applied for grant money from the St. James Legacy Fund, which is managed by Prairie Presbyterian Church in Winnipeg, to provide some bridge funding for Jen's work in this area to get us sort of to the end of this year, to the end of 2020. So she's able to continue doing that work till the end of 2020, and we have an intention to apply for another national grant. So we received a national grant last year, and we just had this space of time where we wouldn't have had the grant money to cover her salary for that portion of her work. And so we're really thankful for the St. James Legacy Fund for providing us with enough money to bridge that salary to the end of the year. And it gives us a bit of breathing space as we kind of figure out what pivots need to happen with that. And Jen will be letting you know, we'll be giving an update in the next few weeks or a month around what that work is going to be looking like. The other thing is we actually received a grant. I know many of you will remember that we have this cookbook project. Jen's going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but we actually received what's called an innovative ministry grant to produce that cookbook. And those grants were from the national church that they kind of just put out once COVID hit, just to try to get people thinking outside the box of what could we do in ministry. And they were specifically for discipleship or projects around public witness. And so we've had a team that's been working on the cookbook. And Jen, you can sort of tell us a little more about what's needed and
yeah.
So
with that. The cookbook is for the intent of being created based on, inspired by, people have been cooking a lot more at home with COVID having hit. And a lot of people in our congregation had been talking about discovering or rediscovering recipes, trying different things. And so we thought it'd be fun to put something together. And then we put this piece together with public witness. And so our intention is to create a cookbook that has some stories about how faith and meal sharing intersect. And we've got some great writers for content for that. And it will be available for a gift that people can give for sharing the love of Christ with their friends in a very, very subtle and comfortable way. And because who doesn't love awesome recipes? I also have a friend who is going to submit some of her own creations that she's been refining over the years. So I'm like really excited to get her content into the book. But if you've got a recipe, we would love for you to go to the website, which is linked. If it's not linked on our website like right now, it will be by the time you see this. And that is where you can go and submit that as well. We need those submitted by the 15th of September in order to follow with our timeline. We have a graphic designer who we're working with to make sure everything looks really great. PDFs will be available, a downloadable ebook essentially for free. And if you want a physical one, we'll be having those ready to be ordered, pre-ordered in November, so that we can have them in time for Christmas. Because of course, everything right now has slowed down, and Christmas season has always been really busy. So we want to make sure everything's happening on the timeline. So please submit those recipes. We look forward to seeing them and tasting them.
Okay, while we're talking about books, I'm just going to throw in there, I have a book coming out.
It's a good idea. That's a great idea.
So people know this, probably. It's called Let God Send. And you can actually, wow, we're just sending people to websites. Like you can actually go to letgodsend.com and you can pre-order my book right now. So that's actually available. There's a thing there where if you're a local person, like if you're in Manitoba, you can go ahead and pre-order and I'll get you a signed copy. But there's also like special pre-order bonuses you can get. Like you can get a free audiobook and I'm putting together like a leader's guide. So that's going to be like a free pre-order bonus thingy. So yeah.
Sweet.
Another book there. Unplanned announcement. Let God Send. Shameless plug.
That's great. So our final announcement for today, thank you so much for bearing with us and following through this roller coaster of like, we've got lots going on, even though we haven't been meeting, we've got lots going on. It's great. And if you want to engage with that on a deeper level and become a member, because elder elections are coming up, in order to participate in the elder elections, to vote or to become an elder, you got to be a member. So take your phone out right now, or once you finish watching this, email me, jen@prairiechurch.ca. Send me an email, and we are looking to gather some people either in person or Zoom. Both options will be available in the next 2 weeks, so that we will be able to have a membership celebration in some format. We are figuring that piece of the puzzle out as well. But yeah, so send me an email. I will be in touch. And we will get the ball rolling on that.
Could I also just add into that, that if you don't have a church home and you're watching this and like during this time, Prairie has become what you consider your church home, if you've joined online and you think, well, can I be a member? Like I don't live nearby or whatever. Feel free to email Jen. Like we want to hear from you. So I don't care where in the world you are. We have no idea if that means you become a member, but we'd love to hear from you. So I know there's been people from other places in the world or the country watching our live streams on YouTube. And so this is a great opportunity to, we would love to reach out to you, but sometimes we just don't know who is actually on that stream. So please send an email to you can send it to me too, but send it to Jen around the membership stuff. And we would just love to hear from you. And we really do thank you for continuing to participate in the life of Prairie. I know this was lots of announcements, but this is pretty normal for the beginning of September, actually, to have we're going to do a whole bunch of announcements now about what might be coming up. But there's extra things just because some things have been canceled that we're now trying to figure out how to get back to.
And one last thing for me, Matt, that triggered for me in regards to the membership course or conversation is what it will be. It'll be a one-time event. If you already are a member and you'd like to have a refresher or grow deeper in that or just reconnect with community, please let me know as well. You're welcome to attend and participate, again, in person or on Zoom. That's all I have to say.
That's great. Okay. All right.
Right.
We're done.
We're done.
Okay. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody,
everybody.
for watching. Take care.